Thursday night's a good game this week.
Yes.
Packers at Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 2.5. Over-under 49.5. The Packers, we talked last week, they were kind of desperate, and they had a bad opponent coming in, and they took care of business. It wasn't pretty, but they did it. Aaron Jones ran very well. Finally, Mike McCarthy let him out of the cage, which was nice. Which every Packer observer has been saying all year, let Aaron Jones run, and then he did. It was like, oh, look, hey, this guy's really good.
Right.
Go figure.
So. No, I mean, the one thing that I looked at, it was just funny to watch the body language of those Dolphins on the sidelines in that second half when it was really starting to get cold. I mean, literally, you could see the expressions on their face. You know, they're tough football players. They're gonna. A lot of them are just crazy, but they look cold. And I think you get locked up because your muscles are so used to that nice temperature down there in Miami, and you got to go play in crazy cold weather in the 20s in that second half. It's going to be hard to stay fresh and stay loose and be able to keep up with the tempo that Aaron Rodgers played with. Again, he had some wide open targets there in that second half because, again, the Packers won that game. Okay, Brock Osweiler also helped the Packers win that game because he's still Brock Osweiler, made some poor decisions. And he threw some tantrums.
He's Brock Osweiler, all right. Yeah. And they lost another receiver, Jakeem Grant, torn Achilles.
Oh, that was nasty. Oh, I just remember him pulling up. Ugh.
I hate the Achilles injury because you see it snap if you look closely, and it looks so painful. Yeah. I mean, the ACLs, the guys I think are more upset. Not that I've ever suffered an ACL,
right?
But some of them walk off, right? Yeah. But the Achilles is like they just fall down screaming, and it just looks like the most awful injury you can have.
Agreed.
So someone was telling me the other day that they knew someone who tore an Achilles, and they said the person that when it gets repaired and it's tight, it never has the elasticity anymore.
Right.
So in your entire life, you're always stretching it.
I believe it. And you probably have, again, for a while there, that ACL popping again was a fear. And that seems to still exist to some extent, but not to the extent of the Achilles. Like, oh, I'm just waiting for it to pop again because of that elasticity.
Okay, so let's talk about this game because we got to make our picks for this one.
Yes, sir.
The Seahawks, they played a close game with the Rams. They refused to get into track. I mean, even though it was 36-31 or whatever the score was, they refused to get into track meets with people. They are so committed to the run. And they have this really good quarterback who you may have heard of. And they keep running Rashawn Penny and Mike Davis. Carson was out the other day. I mean, when do they? I know they're committed. My friend Mario Puig on RotoWire wrote a just takedown of Brian Schottenheimer the other day. Just like, why won't these guys turn Wilson loose? You know, this whole we have to run the ball to win, but you kind of don't. You know, let Wilson. I mean, he's fantastic. Why just turn him loose a little bit? You know, so he's throwing like 28 times a game. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like 15. I thought Russell Wilson's attempts per game were like 15.
He threw 26 times on Sunday, and that was playing in catch-up mode.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. You know what? Maybe I was thinking completions because there was 2 weeks ago where I think he finished the game with 14 attempts, which is ridiculous. But so was Puig's point that he needs to pass to a banged-up Doug Baldwin who's dragging his body out there each week. Tyler Lockett, who I think most people love, and we'll love to see more Tyler Lockett. But again, defenders are kind of keying in on him because he's the main target. Nick Van Eck catches a touchdown every other game. That's great. The targets that Russell Wilson has to work with aren't as delicious as a running attack that is obviously working. Now, defensive coordinators are going to adjust, but they have it because they're rushing over the last 3 weeks for over 200 yards per game. Plus, Russell can call his own numbers. So I see Puig's point because there are moments where you're going to have to pass a little bit more, but they're controlling the clock. Maybe controlling the clock allows their defense to look better than they actually are because we've made the point, that defense, it's going to catch up to them, but they played well. And maybe that's because that's because the offense is on the field for a long time, trying to control the clock tempo a little bit. I don't think if it's working, roll with it, and you have enough. The one thing that the Seahawks have not had in years past is enough healthy bodies in the backfield to make this work. They're throwing new bodies out there and new look running backs, and they're running for over 200 yards a game.
I know, but I don't know. But I think I'm looking at their time of possession, by the way. They're 12th in the league at 30-54, so fine.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I really think when you go back to weeks 1 through 3, 1 through 4, this wasn't what the Seahawks were doing. This seems to see something that has evolved over the last 2 months where, man, that running back committee is truly a committee. And Russell Wilson, again, sometimes that line breaks down and he can roll out and escape. But when that line breaks down, his options are, again, a banged-up Doug Baldwin who's playing, I think, with some type of horrible knee injury that's going to have to be scoped or something.
I think he's getting better.
I don't know.
Health-wise, I think he's getting better.
I don't know. Again, the one thing that I love is fourth quarter Tyler Lockett. If there's a prop bet out there for Tyler Lockett to score a fourth quarter touchdown, I'd be all over it because chances are that's going to happen. As far as pertains to this week against the Packers, I love this matchup for the Seahawks. I absolutely do. I know. The one thing that, and I think I said this last week or 2 weeks ago, this isn't the same Packers team that's just going to go out there and roll into the Super Bowl. Their defense isn't very good. Aaron Rodgers seems very frustrated on any given week because, again, he has Devontae Adams, and then he's got, like, a
bunch of rookies now. Yeah.
He's got a young team, and Jimmy Graham isn't what every fantasy owner hoped he would come back to as far as what he did in New Orleans. And Aaron Jones had a nice week, but I think it's a tough spot for Green Bay on the short week because Seattle, they make 2 games against the Rams close, and the Rams defense isn't very good either. So I like this at home for the Seahawks.
So the last 5 games for the Packers: lost to Detroit, late comeback win at home against the Niners, lost to the Rams, lost to the Patriots, and a workmanlike win over the Dolphins. I mean, it's not super impressive.
No.
I like the Seahawks here.
Yeah, and if you think about it, and I think you mentioned it the week they played the Patriots, they go L.A., New England, home. Now they're going back out to Seattle. That's a lot of travel and not very fun either. But yeah, it's weird. Like, you watch the Packers and you're like, okay, they have Aaron Rodgers. Everything's great. And then you watch the game play out and you're like, Aaron Rodgers needs more help. And I know he throws his mumble under his breath tantrums a little different than the more vibrant Phillip Rivers tantrums. But you could just see he's frustrated. Like, he knows how many years he has left on whatever his career is. And I think he wishes he still had peak Randall Cobb and peak Jordy Nelson, because then he would know what he had. And now he's just kind of having to carry some of the younger players along, and it's not his bread and butter.
All right. Some numbers on this game that might interest you. Seahawks are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. Packers are 0-4 on the road overall. Under 4 of Green Bay's last 6 have been under. 6 of Seattle's last 8 have been under. The over-under here is 49.5. I'm pretty sure well, we got to make our picks now, so I'm picking the Seahawks.
Heck yeah, you are.
Yeah.
They're gonna look good. And if they don't, I will be shocked. I think this is one of those games where, and again, Pete Carroll sometimes shoots himself in the foot, but I would be surprised. So if the Packers do win and cover, I would be surprised how it played out. Like, I would just be very, very interested to see, okay, this is how the Packers can do this more the rest of the year, because there's got to be some different chemistry than what they've done the last 5 weeks.